says, small things offer mercy. Don't you know that yet? We'll choose less than a great call, a great torch, or unlimited freedom. These two quickly tempt to love all comers all the more. So, you're going to test and interpret my value, are you? The old man wiped his forehead. With the palms of blunt hands and raised both arms, as though oddly deaf, saying, "You still cannot change everything I've done in my life. Already my own past shall revolt on you, and one creation you cannot explain." But was he so old that no scheme encircled the monologue? During those times, we heard a lot we'd like to forget. It was a flagrant burning away of blurred things that were left too long in the family attic. And the shedding would occur before any more mean work shall begin. After a few months, I never heard the praise of the past undermine the new logic of the new paradigm. And to think of it, I believe he must have wandered off to another remote town. And not many are pleased with uncertain times, not those with discontent by loss who lose themselves left in the wreckage.
Of course, revolution dispels the setting and rearranges the chairs.
Act 6, June 1942. Location, Karlsruhe home, Munich, Germany.
No warm days left. They seem to pass us by. Warm days to serve to get the sting of winter and hibernal disappointments out of our deep muscles. Someone had stolen my rush of texture and paled it such that I couldn't boast of either a greed of isolation or a greed of comfort, the need to be with none or the need to talk. In the glare of madness, I was not the person I continued to expect, though the stare of those who did not know assumed I had become the last best chance that remained once our safety was looted and consumed away.
Things must be more than habitual or correct in the recent morning. They must raise a cause for a form of justice.
These times, talks of survival are a style of lying, but surviving spoke back to let us know we'll wake mornings, marvelously dying, always vast and rare.
It's the habit of things I miss most now. When I'm at this fragile moment fitting the mood of the current world. History was already clued in. The soldiers, they must repel those who dare to keep them from crimes they'd like to see. the times they'd like to deliver, and the heroes they'd leap to be.
It yet seems harshly too serious that serious roles are too perfect for any of us. I retrace how then in training the world never did reflect my cut of it. The world always leaned askew, but now it lies ever more aligned. I glean too well the reason I'm here delayed, or the reason they strained to imprison me and myself. They chaffed to find when soon illumined I'll not stop. An empty church or prisons replete with confused rakes and victims, while the dead had wanted a better country to deserve. Following rumors that wade through the street, trailing to spot the guilty, to prove the rumors were true and should not fade. Most diverging knew the dying was once again another mere tactic to rid the world of the boast of innocence. I don't need objects or evidence the way I did. I don't fight the way I did. In all respects, I'm getting weary of all that promises more than I have yet received.
The body cannot fill itself, but deigns to keep on eating until the hunger to survive will have eaten itself and its vanity.
The enduring harm, the grinding ache, pain, I take these as methods, almost a discipline. To suffer, that is to be free, to defy the apostasy from peace and mercy.
Contents will run like light water into the oceans that swallow and fulfill a refuge of change. To the dangerous, we're not yet danger, and we can still be used, though there's no kindness nor agreement. Have you read anything catching so briefly the message of this brave letter we received from my sister? Part of it I'd like to share with you. You are missed, Dietrich, more than others would be missed, for you knew us so well while we'd persist in tales and needing someone to stitch up the family's refrain. You'll behold everything I mean by this. We don't escape by talking about the future at home anymore. The songs keep us from thinking about the present route, and we desire a lull from the next vicious report. There's no one to rely on anymore for shaking excess, for God's sake, from the newspaper, when those yielding minds can be blamed for the cheap manner news is spread. I've recently inherited the rude role of obstructionist since you left. Today, I see the single and suspiciously whole contagion you had and the power you exerted over us all. Yet one thing, Dietrich, we don't doubt the deserted ones as much as we had. To receive the harsh side of your intuitive voice for doing so, there's nothing seductive nor softly conveyed enough happening to any of us to urge us outwardly as we linger about the cruel deviling that won't go away. Someday we'll talk about better parts of our hectic and compelled country. She ends the letter by telling of friends talking much less now than they ever did when in any respect there were so many more of them with whom to speak. Subjects are different now, and everyone can ignore each other somewhat better, for they are much more conscious of each other than they've ever been, especially waiting on the cruelest day.
For as truth turns less important than survival, for as bitter as I resound, survival to most stays colorless in native truth, loosely confusing right and wrong. They come again, the night panthers, after my curled and covered soul, who'll take equal pleasure in having my body first.
Act 7, June 1942. Location, Klein-Crossen Estate, near Chichau, Germany.
I have come to see nothing to confirm history happens to assert itself toward better times. In this nation, a hard rule has ways of tripping into codes and reverent names as if, by nature, events happen that come to be the best for mostly all, so they say. Doubting this rhyme, I watch then for any vitreous signs of power to play itself out daily above the exercise of truth. Many, even uncouth ones, didn't say so, but they learned power had rendered truth useless again. At least moral truth useless, as a cliché rose too large for any to resist.
To be so honest there means not to be there at all. Honesty in peril and penalty. To be null over protracted time, as though deniers know the place we want to go, but the place of refuge quits and dissolves before we ever reach it.
We're tired of listening for an ethic. If we weren't, you'd be received, and the tyrants wouldn't have acquired the country as a personal yard for those arrogant romps.
It's on febrile ground that tests are won and lost. The method to fit, the tact for winning, must contrast with the moral. We have quickly found in the gust of these years that to fade sends the highest mode of conduct. Yet we've heard the most facile is one who tends to the tools and gears in this upheaved land, which puts poets and theologians to the ground and foremost fears. While a salesman can beat us, we don't have to ply the stuff he's selling. But plan on it. We're stuck with a politician we instate. Enemies of the state because we think aside, but then we're shortly enemies of the laws to think at all.
Recall the times we were, too silent to hear schemes from any keenly longing, who never longer listened, but learning to declare, gave themselves a job in the fight.
That's not the way it was around the innocuous many. Brittle, disappointed folks who keep repeating a tiresome day for cadence, while time apparently never moves, and deep power seems no more brutal in one year or another.
By September 1942, Hitler's victories yield an extraordinary amount of territory, encircling most of the Mediterranean. He also controls a landmass from northern Norway at the Arctic Ocean to Egypt, and from the Atlantic to the southern parts of the Volga River. However, Germany's military fortunes declined quickly thereafter. By late 1942, the Soviets surround 22 German divisions of Stalingrad. El Alamein is broken through by Montgomery's forces, and the Allies achieve other advances in North Africa. In October 1942, Don Nani and among them Bonhoeffer are informed that they have been named in an investigation conducted by the Gestapo into certain sensitive areas, such as money going to Jewish refugees as part of Operation 7, and anti-government sentiments and plans among Abwehr officials and staff. In February 1943, the conspirators believe a coup will occur in March through Operation Flask, with a bomb to be placed on Hitler's plane leaving Smolensk on March 13th. However, the bomb does not explode. Another attempt in early 1943 also fails. And on April 5, 1943, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, Hans von Danae, and his wife, Christine, Dietrich's sister, are arrested. Dietrich at the Bonhoeffer family home. Christine is released a month later, but Bonhoeffer and Danae remain incarcerated for the rest of their lives. Charges against them by the Nazi government expand during their imprisonment.
Who am I? Who am I? When I step from my prison cell and catch the warden's eye, I'm as jaunty as a squire surveying all that is mine. I joke with the prisoners so freely in the prison yard. But then I'm led back to my cage, a closed-off universe, alone among my cellmates. My spirit is in tatters, a flag of surrender on the smoky battlefield. That is my soul, but who will accept my surrender terms? I'm like a leaf when its season is over, dropping into a pool, floating downstream away from the source. Then Christ called me, he bid me come and die. His grace is not cheap, but his grace will not die. And oak in winter sheds her leaves and stands naked, awaiting Easter's warming cloak, Easter's majesty. My spirit is in tatters, a flag of surrender on the smoky battlefield. That is my soul, but who will accept my surrender terms? I'm like a leaf when its season is over, dropping into a pool, floating downstream away from the source. And Christ called me, he bid me come and die. His grace is not cheap, but his grace will not die. And oak in winter sheds her leaves and stands naked, awaiting Easter's warming cloak, Easter's majesty.
Act 8, the day of arrest. The Bonhoeffer family home, Marienbagger, Allee 43, Berlin, Germany.
I think about solitude more. A mere premonition before I draw a harsh future. For I find I want to be alone more than I ever have, and earnestly too, though I've never been alone so much before. It went away, I think of home too easily, as though some evil pall exists from some final and grave sentence there. Yes, I miss the many I love, of course, daily. I don't try talking quite as much out of context as I did, for I have more to uncover than I have to say. Friends who had never refused me reply slowly now when I need them in a hurry. I don't rely on jokes anymore to get me by gloom or on tricks to retrieve stolen scenes. I grew much older than I thought I would in a short time. Among romantics, I am pale to give advice. And I don't seek new settings much anymore either, for the pattern fails to give pleasure anymore. Oddly, if at all wise, I know survival and tons of evidence are mere dry education. A moment's meant to be astute, as if I were to instill and envelop myself with every thinker who has brushed the same vow and rock I have. And I daydream a lot instead of listen to others and remember things, a stock of flight formerly forgotten. Or I foretell reports to come that cause constant thought over those I'll remember, but will probably never encounter again.
New machines, time force new allegiances, wresting others into other enclaves. The course acquires the way doubtlessly clear of bit players, contrivances, and all that reminds all of mere fashion. And the faster once done, more reliable lies the course over the land, building new order in a little less time.
Our heroes are constantly ablaze by passing through an abyss, the will to history.
The rightness we hype, though the display of an angle could rightly as well have been directed in still another way, and could have also been wrong. War has too many perfected rules for those looking casually at conduct, for it is expected after the famed battles that victors will bring a thick moral to the reason the other side finally languished.
As the moral can justify any sick purpose for any war and divert words from an honest charge against those who mark, mine, and insert the blood, with the weakest bearing blame for the dead. A comfortable violence comes as the treat. A world connects the shame.
The soldiers, when they race so high, swarming, a faceless horde of wasps.
They're too sure the base world they built won't be complete until all of us are wrenched from everything we thought we were.
The malicious maneuvers to exclude include greatness of a kind, a glaring light beyond all simple light, barbarous pride.
No reserved candor, instability by a strict consolidation of thoughts, as a sound wears out its words, as the drone kills everything that purports radiance.
And the rest who listen too little hear less and have confirmed it would be best to be entirely deaf.
Hypnotic chants, the nature they affect to inflate the flaws and storied parts of us sad, objectify them into a monument, jeered and codified, the flaws, all the time buried deep, a testament in us, our secret weapon.
I am never without reasons. They come to me too dark to disguise, young and also stout, light as unmeasured light. In a versatile and strange way, they resemble liberty without delay. But reasons can also bring chaos, for they'll never be at rest until we diffuse or dilute whatever they've said. If I can believe in something reasonable, I'd like to sustain and quickly retrieve it, as reason still continue to desire, even as desire was hardly restrained by reason. I infer scores of many inspired by doubt, but that's all meaningless to those who can foresee a future so greedily they establish no restrictions on it. In a time of extreme answers, extreme questions are hardly safe.
The already announced results, tribute to the marauders, catch most short, with power trying to convince us of surety through insults. Yes, I'm deceived cheaply on behalf of a future I had never seen but couldn't neglect. New shapes teach new size. We're called to the last perfect tower.
Within view of the actual, we're publicly more assailed with each thunder of loose bombs,